Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of ReelQuick, episode 16. Today, we are going to be reviewing David Cronenberg's The Dead Zone. This is a patron-selected movie, so shout out to Tobias Johnson for the recommendation. We all watched it. This is a first watch for all of us, so we're very excited to have seen it and now come on to this real quick and review it. As always, big shout out to all of our patrons. Your support means the world to us. The Discord is popping off, and we absolutely love it. Shout out to everyone in general that follows us on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, subscribes to us on YouTube, follows us on Letterboxd, likes, comments, shares. You guys are incredible. We say this time and time again. Your support is the reason why we spend 3.5 hours on a Sunday recording. Is because we genuinely enjoy doing what we do. We genuinely enjoy getting the positive feedback that we get. Even if you tell us to go fuck ourselves, thank you for the engagement. That means a lot to us. Let's get right into the review. So this is a Daniel Cronenberg, Stephen King adaptation called The Dead Zone.
Wait. David Cronenberg.
Oh, what did I say?
Daniel Cronenberg.
Right.
Keep that. No,
right,
keep that.
Whatever. We're not gonna cut
that
that out. I actually made that mistake in my Infinity Pool review. I said Daniel Cronenberg too, so I'm just stupid.
Yeah.
We're not.
What?
Whatever. We don't need to cut this.
No,
you're
fine.
Shit happens. There's your blooper reel. David Cronenberg, Stephen King adaptation called The Dead Zone. David Cronenberg for me has been very hit or miss. Same with Brandon Cronenberg, his son. I love Videodrome. I even have the Criterion. I think it's an incredible movie. I absolutely despise Crimes of the Future. Sorry, Tyler. I know you love that movie, or I know you liked or enjoyed that movie. What are your thoughts on David Cronenberg as a filmmaker? Cam, was this your first outing with David Cronenberg?
Honestly, I don't know, but if it's not the first, it's definitely the second. So we're gonna check right now. Nope,
I think
this is the first. Yeah, I'm not a David Cronenberg guy. From everything I've heard about him, this was very tame.
I'm honestly very happy that this was your introduction to David Cronenberg.
I wanted some Stamussi.
Yeah, if we had started with Videodrome to watch the Stamussi, or like his hand be warped in a gun, I think you would have given this movie a 0 out of 5. Seth, I know I'm gonna assume you would have preferred, Videodrome-esque, The Fly kind of stuff, where you saw a couple of more graphic visuals.
I think this is my 8th Cronenberg now, and it's definitely the most accessible Cronenberg I've personally seen. Like Videodrome is same as yourself, is best. And then, but I'm a bit similar to you though. I have a very up and down relationship with his films. I have a few at 2.5. I have quite a few at 3 at 3.5, and then 2 at 4. So it's very down the middle kind of thing.
Yeah, he's super all over the place, I think, for most people. Tyler, any thoughts on David Cronenberg before we get into our review?
The biggest cronehead on the podcast.
World's biggest cronehead. I mean, dude deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Needs a star on the Walk of Fame in Hollywood. Go to director, if you ask me.
All right. The Dead Zone. When Johnny Smith awakens from a coma caused by a car accident, he finds that years have passed, and he now has psychic abilities. Heartbroken that his girlfriend has moved on with her life, Johnny also must contend with his unsettling powers, which allow him to see a person's future with a mere touch. After shaking the hand of an aspiring politician, Greg Stilson, Johnny sees the danger presented by the candidate's rise and resolve to kill him. Christopher Walken stars as Johnny Smith, and he's played alongside Brooke Adams, who plays his ex-girlfriend. Let's get right into it. I know Seth mentioned this is tame Cronenberg. This, I think, the best comparison, if you're not really familiar with David Cronenberg's filmography, this is Knock at the Cabin to M. Night. It's not typical, David Cronenberg fuckery. There's not a lot of graphic body horror, which he usually very heavily dives into, especially if you've seen Videodrome or The Fly or more recently Crimes of the Future. It's super tame, and I think personally that played to his advantage. I did enjoy The Dead Zone quite a bit. I have my issues with it, but overall, I really enjoyed my time with this. I think it was a very tame thriller, suspense. I know a lot of people. Sci-Fi.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people calling it horror. I would not even remotely consider this a horror movie.
No.
Seth, what are your overall thoughts on the movie before we kind of get into a little bit more of a spoiler talk?
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird one. I didn't really know what to expect. Like I said, I've seen like 8. This is my 8th once. I've seen 7 before of David Cronenberg. Anyway, I've not really seen that much of his son, but yeah, it's kind of a weird one. I didn't really know what to expect. I knew it was a Stephen King adaptation. So for the first sort of hour, I would say, I think it was a tight script. I think the performances were fine. I was intrigued, but I was never crazily invested. It was really the ending that I actually enjoyed the most, and actually when Charlie or Martin, I get them confused. Which one is it? Martin, yeah. So when Martin Sheen came in, he was definitely the standout for me. I actually really enjoyed his bits. It was, it was dark, twisted. It was bleak cinematography, which I always quite like. But honestly, my main criticism of this film is I just found it quite bland and quite dull. I think this is David Cronenberg's safe film. This is his most accessible film, where it's like it's a Stephen King adaptation that he's not swayed away too much from what I've read. Obviously, I haven't read the original book, whatever. But from what I've read, it's a pretty straightforward adaptation where he's played it quite safe, which for a lot of people would probably be fine. But it just doesn't have what I'd want. And maybe if I'd have watched this film and not known it was directed by David Cronenberg, I'd be like, okay, it was just a fine kind of mystery sci-fi, whatever it wants to be. But yeah, it just missed kind of the usual elements that I'd want to see. And I think it was a tight script. There were some good moments. There was some visceral imagery, which was always nice to see. But my main criticism is just I think it was for the first hour, because I think it was like an hour 45. For the first maybe 40 minutes, 45 minutes, I think it was quite boring. I wasn't having a great time with it, and then it started to pick up, and then I actually really enjoyed the ending. But obviously, we'll go into that when we speak. Bit more spoilers. I'll give it a 3 anyway. So
I'm just gonna piggyback off that, just because like I completely agree with Seth, and so I don't want to hit the hammer on the head too much. You guys always like ask like, why do I watch shit movies? This movie is like my least favorite kind of movie, where like I always take notes. I don't have any notes for this because in my opinion this movie was so like it was a little bit better than like middle of the road. I have it as 61 out of 100, but it was like just it was kind of boring. None of the
it didn't take any risk.
Yeah, like so there was nothing really for me to write down like with it. And you guys know I come up with the weirdest shit to write down. Like sometimes just like pick some absurd things that I notice in movies. Like that's what I kind of like about like a shit movie. I can just write down a bunch of funny things that I found. This movie for me kind of did everything middle of the road, and everyone was fine. No one did a bad job. It wasn't like the most boring movie I've ever watched, but it was like a fairly boring movie, and in my opinion, and I guess I lean a little bit heavier to like it being pretty good. So it's like a 60 out of 100 for me. That's kind of where I feel like that. I just wanted to piggyback off Seth because I, for the most part, agree with him.
Yeah. I think. Go for it, Tyler.
I was just gonna say, like, because just like a week ago, I watched Unbreakable for the first time, and like, there's obviously very similar themes here. Like, you get in the crazy wreck, and then all of a sudden, you get powers, and Unbreakable was just so much more entertaining than this. Like, I was so much more invested in that story than this, and I landed on the exact same scores. Cam, I think he said 61. I gave it a 6 out of 10. So yeah,
this doesn't help that guy who said we always rate things the same.
I mean, hey, it's just.
But the thing about the Dead Zone is, I feel like this is almost like a movie where if you showed it to like a focus group of 100 people, like I feel like everyone's gonna be right around that 6 plus or minus 1 out of 10. Like if you're rating it, and I feel like
there'll be anomalies.
This is a Stephen King book adaptation, and I feel like this would have been much better as a TV series, which it actually ended up being. I think it was like completely separate, but it's like the same book, it became a TV series. Just because I feel like there's just so much they had to pack into this, where like it still managed to be slow. But like, and we'll get into more of some spoilers. I feel like there's like 3 distinct segments of this film, and I just feel like I could totally see it fleshed out episodically in a TV series. Be a lot more fun. You could go like case to case of him solving stuff. But yeah, I'll just leave it at that. 6 out of 10 and then we can talk a little more spoilers.
Yeah, we can get to spoilers. I'll break the trend of all of us giving it the same score. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5, and I think it's just like M. Night's The Knock at the Cabin. I'll mention again. Just I enjoy the fact that this was significantly more tame than what David Cronenberg has given us in the past. Let's get into spoilers.
Sorry. Just does anyone know where in his filmography this falls? Like, is this his first movie?
No. So he did. It's the same year as Videodrome, I think. It was the same year.
Really? He
Yeah,
dropped this
83,
in Videodrome in 1 year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
I
looking at his
think
IMDb. He
that-
dropped like
that's
5
the
movies in
reason.
3 years.
That's probably why, George, that he dropped it something that's kind of accessible. That
All right.
he also dropped it Videodrome in the same year.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the
So-
budget on this was probably super small. Like there
I
wasn't.
think it was like a few
crazy-
million. I think it was
Okay.
a few million.
All right.
This is not.
So
This is his 9th made movie, so he just kind of like started making crazy movies. Was like, I'm gonna go a little more basic, and then just back down to crazy movies. I guess he's like, it's just kind of odd. He also. Never mind. Sorry.
no, go.
Why does he have 2 movies called Crimes of the Future? Is his Crimes of the Future a remake of his original Crimes of the Future?
I saw
You
that.
sure
I
it's
didn't
not
know.
like
I
behind
didn't know
the
it was a
scenes?
remake.
Allegedly, in 1917, he was the writer, director, and
Not
producer.
1917.
1917.
1970. That's what I said,
Okay.
right? Or did I say 17?
I heard 17.
My bad. 1970.
Maybe it was like a short film, like
Oh,
Damien
yeah.
Chazelle's Whiplash situation.
63 minutes, 1970. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe it was that.
Yeah, so maybe now he just has the budget and he's like, I'm going to make it weirder. But so
All right,
continue.
so let's get into a couple of spoilers. So, as the synopsis says, this main character gets into a car accident. He's in a coma for 5 years, and then he wakes up, and he has these psychic abilities. So, the first instance of that is he touches the nurse's hand, and he sees the nurse's daughter in her house burning. And then he touches his doctor's hand, and he sees or he visualizes that his doctor's mother is still alive, which I assume he presumed was she was dead for decades. And the movie kind of starts building up this like as just to be this very calm murder mystery in like small town America. I for sure thought that was going to be the entire movie. I thought the entire movie was going to be this guy just trying to aid the police in solving this one very small murder, this serial killer who's going around killing women. And I fully expected it to be his dad, too. I was about to text you guys, if the killer ends up being his dad, this movie's getting a 0.5 out of 5. Because I thought for, like, and I guess that's just a credit to David Cronenberg's, like, filmmaking style, where it's just a really nice subversion of expectation. I was fully expecting his dad to have been the killer. And then the movie takes a turn because that and I know Tyler says this is kind of divided into 3 segments. The movie, that murder is solved like halfway through, and then we get basically an entirely new story of this politician. So Tyler, I want you to expand a little bit on your 3-act structure on this film.
Yeah, so I feel like the start was him, getting in the accident, discovering his powers, realizing he's different than everyone else, and how his like relationship kind of falls apart from that, or like because it's been 5 years. And then from there, you get into just like a whole chunk that I feel like could have been fleshed out more if you wanted to make it a TV series, which, as I mentioned, it is a TV series that was in the 80s after this movie, where, he's solving crimes, he's working with the police, like developing that ability, fleshing it out, because early on, he's like, I don't know, is this like the past, the future? Like, what am I seeing in this? Like, kind of show him you see him honing in on his skills more. He's helping the police. And then, like you said, they button up that murder halfway through where there's like the serial killer in town. And all of a sudden, Martin Sheen comes into the picture as a politician who he like touches hands with, and basically realizes like this dude's gonna like ruin the entire world if he becomes president. So now I must like stop him in any way possible. So I feel like for me, like it felt like in the fact, like it's like I said, we all kind of said it was slow and kind of boring, but also I feel like they packed so much in story plot wise, and I feel like it could have been expanded out to be a little longer, like if you made it a TV series like it did. Just because it's just so weird how they went from that all the murders you solve into all of a sudden like, oh, Martin Sheen came into the picture, and it was so late in the game too, like probably with like 40 minutes left, and had to wrap it up real quick with him trying to stop this leader from coming into power. Who Martin Sheen and his like political rallies was just like hilarious, like his speeches he was given, just like basically he's like, all you guys are lazy, you guys suck, what happened to this country? Like, and I'm like, you talk like, don't you want to like have these people like you? Like he's kind of like just roasting people. He's like, why are you guys here right now? It's a work day. Why are you at my rally? I'm like, that was hilarious.
To that point, I also think it was just one of the reasons that holds me back is that I just think it was super rushed character arc for Christopher Walken's character. There's the one scene where the sheriff comes into his home and it's basically like, there's a murder, we can use someone with your powers, and he kind of like freaks out on him because the sheriff says this is a gift, and he like declines the sheriff's offer to help solve this murder, and then like not even 5 minutes later, he's like talking to his dad, and he's like, I'm gonna help this guy.
Yeah.
Nothing happened in my life to change my mind, but I'm just gonna change my mind. Cam, any thoughts on like spoiler talk that you want to touch on?
No, not really. You know, I can always give my random bullshit that I think of. But no, nothing related to this movie other than just like Martin Sheen. Obviously me being the idiot, I don't see a ton of old movies. Obviously Apocalypse Now and others. Right, that's Martin Sheen. Now I can't even think. Whatever. I was trying to think where I know Martin Sheen from. And then I fucking realized it was Uncle Ben from The Amazing Spider-Man. So again, like I said, just I completely forgot. I was like, where do I fucking know Martin?
I hate you.
Oh my
I hate you.
God. I
that.
didn't even piece that one together.
Yeah, no, and then
you realize he's in The Departed, don't you?
Yeah, he's in The Departed. I'm looking at his filmography.
Apocalypse Now,
he's
The West Wing.
I knew Apocalypse Now. I said that.
Have you seen Badlands, Cal?
No, I've never seen Badlands.
You'd like Badlands.
He's always
in Catch Me If You Can. Whatever. Sorry, but I just think it's funny that he's Uncle Ben in The Amazing Spider-Man, and that's kind of what I remembered him from. But I do like him in the movies that I now watch. Thanks to this podcast, I watch probably better movies, but less fun movies. I have fun facts, but send it over to Seth first.
All right, Seth, wrap us up.
Honestly,
I don't have the ending.
Much more to add. I think, like Tyler said, they had a lot to kind of add into this, and like you said, George, the arc when the sheriff came in and asked him to help, and then he was like 2 minutes later can suddenly change his mind. It was just, it's weird that a film is quite bloated and comes across as that, but it's still just honestly quite boring. I did really like. Why am I getting mixed up again? Martin Sheen. I get him and his son mixed up. I did actually really like him. I do think he was quite rushed in, and it was a bit weird how he just came out of nowhere, and then this is where the story's gone now. But I did actually quite
became
like
better when he got in.
Yeah. I just think he's a great actor, and I like seeing him on the screen. I think he's phenomenal, and I think he definitely stole the show in the part he was in. But I honestly don't really have anything else to add. I think everything I've been covered, so Cam can go on to his notes or whatever.
Well, just one thing before Cam. This is notes.
Yeah, we can end with fun.
Yeah, I kept texting you guys I enjoy this movie. I'm not loving it. I need it to pick up. So I am kind of happy that it made that switch over. Like they solved the small town murder fairly quickly.
Yeah,
because I think if that was dragged out across, an
if
hour,
this were like a
2 hour
film or something.
I enjoy that there were higher stakes to this guy's power, because it's something that if you wake up with psychic abilities, you're going to be absolutely drowned in people and news outlets. So it's not something you could hide from. So I'm happy that David Cronenberg kind of showed us, like, okay, on what scale can this guy really use his powers? And obviously the largest scale possible is essentially preventing the apocalypse or a nuclear strike.
He's preventing apocalypse now. Am I right, everyone? Thank you. There's a Martin Sheen joke for you.
Yeah, thanks. I caught that. Go into your notes, Cam. Just segue from there.
Yeah. So there are some fun facts that I found. So obviously, I'm gonna try to also just real quick try to make this so it'll be like an easy clip for social media. So sorry if you're watching this, but it's all for clips. So in the Dead Zone, director David Cronenberg had to reshoot the scene in which John Smith had his first sight, or his first, whatever you want to call it, premonition, I guess. And it showed a little girl's room burning, obviously. And in the corner, there's a small ET doll that could be seen on one of the shelves, and Universal threatened to file a lawsuit. So they had to reshoot that entire scene because of one small ET doll.
That's cool.
Wow.
And then another fun fact in the Dead Zone, director David Cronenberg, in the background would fire off a .357 Magnum loaded with blanks, in order to get Christopher Walken to actually react and twitch, so he'd randomly just shoot a gun.
A few actors. I've heard of a few directors doing that.
I've heard of that too. It's definitely been used in some other movies. And then last one here,
Rust. Sorry, too soon.
Yeah, sure.
Way too soon. I'm so sorry.
Fine. In the Dead Zone, actor Christopher Walken, said he had issues in scenes because he was going a little bit crazy, because he noticed in the background there was a prominent ticking noise that happened every 1.25 seconds, which obviously signified 7 years on Earth.
That one worked better than last week.
That one definitely worked better than last week.
Well.
I thought you were about to give an actual spoiler.
We'll come back next week for my next 1.25 seconds joke, please.
All right, so the movie ends essentially with Christopher Walken's character trying to save the world. He brings a gun or whatever to this guy's rally. He plans on killing him. This dude uses a child as a shield, I believe, which is just the most underrated use of children in a film. And he fades off into the sunset.
That was great. What an ending.
So overall, I believe the three of you guys gave it a 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd.
Yep.
And I'm going to go with a 3.5 out of 5.
George.
And in defense of myself, again, just the very George rating, but in defense of myself, again, I just like that this was very tame Cronenberg. I enjoyed that he just kind of dialed it back and gave us, a very calm suspense, sci-fi, thriller, horror, whatever you want to call it. Any closing remarks before we wrap up real quick? Episode 16.
No, all good.
All good.
Thank you all to the patrons. We appreciate you very much.
We appreciate you.
Yes.
Shout out Remy Walker.
Big shout out to all the patrons. Big shout out to I believe this was Tobias Johnson who recommended this. Tyler, I think Remy Walker did the draft.
Shout out to you as well. We filmed like 17
just shout out to
back to back. So
yeah,
we all blend together.
We've been grinding on Sunday, but it's what we very much enjoy and love doing. So shout out to all the patrons who are supporting us. Shout out to everyone on all of our social medias and YouTube who are liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, following. Again, we say this time and time again, it's because of you guys that we keep going. So thank you. We posted a coming of age draft yesterday on Thursday. So if you haven't checked that out, check it out. It's on YouTube. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll be here in 2 days for the ReelTok Podcast, episode 24.
Peace out.